Today we're going to be making these really cool clay owls. This is what it looks like when it's painted and it's dry, but this is what it looks like right before you paint it. You can see that the clay you're going to get today is gray and it's wet. It will need to dry and go in through the kiln to turn it white before you start painting it. But at any rate, it gives you an idea of what we're going to get started on today. And today I just want to go ahead and teach you how to begin. When you get your clay, it's going to be this block or square type of clay. And the very first thing that you want to do is start out with a slab. So I'm going to take my clay and I'm going to gently press down using, it's almost like CPR. For people that put their hands together, you're going to stand and press that clay down. You'll notice that I am not pounding on it with my fists. That is not going to get your clay very even or smooth. Just use the palms of your hand, pushing it out towards the side. And turning that around. And I always turn it like a pancake because the palms of my hands are not flat, but the table is. So the table allows me to get a nice flat piece of clay. Okay, this is great. This is a really good start. Now that I've got my clay pretty flat, you'll see that it's still thick enough on the sides. You don't really want it to be paper thin because it's really easy to break if it's too thin. So go ahead and leave it. You know, some areas are thicker, some areas are a little thinner. It's not perfectly flat, but that's okay. It's going to work out great. Now to get started on making your owl shape, I like to think of it as a rectangular piece. And I'm going to just start drawing this shape onto my project. Okay, this will give me a good starting point to begin. Now, if you make a mistake or don't like it, you can always use your tool then to just drag the clay on top and it will erase. I didn't cut through it yet, so it'll allow me to change my mind or do anything different yet that I need to do on my project. So again, I'm going to just draw it out. And good thing I drew it, because the other thing that I thought of as I was making my video is that I want to save some extra clay and then just fold it in for the wings on my owl. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by cutting off the tops now. A little curved line on the top, a curved line on the bottom. It's a good starting point to begin my clay owl. Now, using the rest of this clay that's on the sides, I'm going to go ahead and start folding that. Oh, sorry, before I fold it, let's use one of these tools and start making the feathers on my owl before I fold it. Might be a little bit easier. I'm using a clay tool and just wiggling that clay together. It's not going all the way through. I don't want it to go all the way through. I just want to use my clay tool, providing a little bit of wiggle, and it gives me these shapes that look like feathers. Now, I used that upside down so that you could see it, and I'm going to save this space at the top for it. Nose and my eyes. Taking the clay together, bringing that towards the inside. I'm going to go ahead and start pinching that together, smoothing it with my finger or one of the clay tools that I have on the side. This will give me a side of my owl. I've got a lot of extra clay down here. I'm going to cut that off. Smoothing that together so it gives me a nice fine line where my wing is at. And I'm going to do the same to the other side, folding that together towards the inside of my owl. One wing looks a little bigger than the other. Cool. I'm glad. I don't want it to be exactly the same, or maybe I want to just trim a little from the other side with my tool. It's just fun making these owls. With the extra clay that I have, I'm going to pinch it. I'm working on this upside down right now, boys and girls, just because it's easier for me. You do whatever works best for you. But it's just kind of a fun little project where we're trying to put in textures and think about the owl and what might work well. So this is a basic starting point to get started on my owl. Using the leftover clay that I had when I cut the head and bottom piece off, I'm going to go ahead and use this for my owl's eyes and nose. Taking my clay, I'm going to squeeze it together so that I've got one over here and one over here. It gives me about the same size for my owl's eyes. Putting it together in a ball. I'm going to put one eye there. Putting it together in a ball. Now I want you to understand something. This clay is not going to stick. Even if it sticks like this, when the water that's inside my clay dries, you can see that it's wet because some of it's on the towel. When it dries, those eyes would fall off. Problem. I don't want those eyes to fall off. So I'm going to use my tool and scratch it up. It's kind of like fingers. Scratch the clay up so that they stick together. Once I did that, I'm going to do that to the bottom of my eye, creating some roughage, pushing that down. And you can even take some of that clay and like just drag it down onto the body of the owl so that it stays together. Once you've done that, we'll go ahead and make an eye mark for the eye, and then I'm going to use my tool to make the lines that go out from the eye. Some of that filled in on the center, so I'm just going to take it and do the same thing on the center like this. Going on to eye number 2. Just smooth that out just a little bit more. Okay, same thing. Take it off. Scratch. Scratch. Press it down. Use a little of that clay to attach it to your body of the owl so that it does not come apart. Now that I have a nice owl shape, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for this eye. Drawing the lines around the center for my owl, using the end of my tool, creating a hole or a little bit of a design like this. Using some of my extra clay that I had left over, I can now make a beak for my owl. It was missing something there. So again, let's scratch that up where the beak will go. Attach the two together. I'm going to use the top of my tool, slide the clay down onto the body of the owl. Oh, love it. Let's go ahead and design some feathery wings to the side of my owl. I'm going to use my tool, draw some lines. Any kind of pattern that you want for the wings of your owl. And lastly, don't forget the feet. Cool. I like it. I'm going to make a little bit of a line for its ear at the top. There. Please put your name and your teacher's letter on the back side, like if it's 1D or 1W or whatever the case may be for your grade level. Grab a toothpick, name, grade level, teacher's first initial. Wow, this is going to look awesome.